2018 MICE Masterclass was a really successful event. We're doing it again in 2019.
That's correct. We felt that the demand was good, and we felt that there is also a need for it, and therefore we have to carry on, given the fact that the MICE sector is actually the key driver for most countries to grow arrivals, as you guys have previously measured and have facts to support that. So we felt that. And
specifically in Africa, it's actually quite an immature market still in some countries. So there's still a lot of development that needs to be done in respect of developing that MICE industry, support to the industry, suppliers to the industry. I think in South Africa we've got quite a large MICE market that has been developing over many years. In some countries like Rwanda, it's still fairly new. In countries like Ghana, it is just about started. So this MICE Masterclass really helps those organizers and service providers to actually develop their own industries.
Yeah, I think you are very spot on, because South Africa is much more developed, given that South Africa fits between developed and undeveloped or developing countries. The rest of Africa, there used to be lack of infrastructure, lack of policy direction. However, they forget that you don't need these actually to drive the MICE sector, because you got smaller meetings, you got incentive opportunities that can be leveraged or that could be leveraged. So programs like this masterclass, and obviously the expertise they get from experts and faculty, people like yourself, BDO, and other experts in the industry, help to guide them to understand the industry better, to basically leverage and take advantage of the opportunity that it presents. And as you alluded to, Rwanda, Ghana, they've come out creatively and they are leveraging. We have done some work with Tanzania recently, offering a similar program to them twice, and I believe that they are seeing a bit of result without the underlying infrastructure that is required. So I think it's an opportunity that needs to be harnessed, and they can harness when we have programs to build capacity within the countries. And that is what we are trying to obviously collaborate with BDO South Africa to get to that level.
So MICE, we talk about MICE, but not everybody understands what's in MICE. So maybe we should just say what is included in the MICE Masterclass, which categories that includes.
Yeah, obviously we are looking at meetings, whether small, medium or large or mega meetings, from association meetings that takes place all over the world that are rotational. We look at incentive structure, which is very big in Africa. Africa basically is one of the best incentive destinations in the world because of the different levels of diversity, from culture to size, pleasurable sites, sceneries, and all that it comes from unique nature, wildlife and stuff. Then we have conferences that are actually run and organized by either individuals or corporates, and then we look at the exhibition sites. Personally, I always add another E, because depending on which side you look at, you can look at events as the last E, or you can consider that exhibition. But basically, putting the two together, it gives a broad spectrum of opportunities that every single country and across the entire value chain, the industry stakeholders could basically benefit from. And we feel that it needs to be optimized, and it needs to be basically, people need to be encouraged and to be trained to be able to get to that level.
So if we look at some of the rotational, the large meetings, associations and corporates that rotate around the world, Africa's had very little of that. So it still has a lot of opportunity to be able to leverage off actually getting those big events into Africa, and different East Africa, South Africa, etc. Southern Africa, it could be quite a big market still for us.
You are spot on in the sense that the association meetings is a very big opportunity, and the reason being that they are rotational, so they never go to one place twice. Some of them may go and come back in 20 years, and some of them not even in our lifetime. And within Africa itself, associations in Africa itself alone could generate a lot of traction for the continent. In addition to that, the international events that are looking for new destinations and new opportunities. We obviously look at Africa. So we believe that that alone can basically help us to grow our tourism arrival continentally, regionally, and even domestically.
Absolutely.
But the challenge that exists now is the lack of knowledge, the lack of skills, the lack of capacity to go and look for these opportunities. And that is what we have collaborated with you to exactly do, to show people how do you look for these association meetings, where are they, where were they, and how do we work with people who have held these association meetings previously to guide us and to give us insight so that we can also get opportunities. So this particular platform we are providing uniquely help the industry stakeholder, practitioners and professional policymakers to learn a lot more about how to go after such opportunities.
And it was interesting, some of the feedback that we had from the 2018 Masterclass was that the experts that were here as speakers actually learned just as much from the other speakers and from the attendees. So for them it was worth attending, because it wasn't just that they were actually imparting knowledge, they were actually gaining knowledge as well. So we're definitely going to leverage on that again this year.
That is really true, because even personally I learned a lot for the simple reason that you might be an expert in one area and possibly not pay attention to the others, and that is why all the speakers and the experts learn from each other. It provided a knowledge sharing opportunity that naturally you wouldn't get in a normal classroom, a normal academic program, or your normal workplace. So the speakers, almost all of them were very excited about it, and to share with you, some of them are very unhappy that they are not speaking this year. Unfortunately, we cannot have the same speakers every year. We got to leverage and take advantage of resources across the continent to grow this initiative. So it was great, and I say I'm a very good example. I learn a lot. Now I go out and talk about incentives. I go out and lecture about things that previously I had very little knowledge about, and I provide advisory services in a couple of these areas from the lessons that I learned from last year's masterclass. And
one of the things that for me is so important is that MICE really brings a significant impact, because it's one of those markets, unlike say VFR or even leisure, it really touches the entire tourism value chain and uses it a lot. So most MICE markets would require significant accommodation, because most of your attendees are actually from outside of the actual area that the MICE event is being held in. They would need transport, they would need entertainment, they require air transport, so it really uses, and then a lot of suppliers, video companies, obviously the venues, the MICE venues and meetings venues that is created. So it really is a high impact market that every country wants to grow for itself.
I think what a lot of people fail to understand, the MICE market, or MICE and business tourism market, is an economy on its own, in the sense that it cuts across and beyond the tourism sector itself.
Absolutely.
There is research that is involved, there is medical, there is scientific, a whole lot of other things. You get a lot of professors doing a lot of things, and as you said, in terms of even technical requirements, it gets into the technology industry, where people will provide video, people will provide AV and all other services. So it cut beyond that. You get event managers, you got catering, you get transport, as you mentioned, the airline, publication. People take it for granted. Look at how many things get printed during events, during any activity that involves the MICE sector. So it's a bigger economy than is looked at. And we believe that Africa getting there, and that's understanding how much it works. I think you use the phrase high impact. I would say it's a high impact economy, just beyond tourism. And it's something that every single stakeholder in the industry should consider. And I heard South Africa President say tourism should be one of the key economic pillars. I think the same thing alluded by most ministers, presidents and staff. But I think we got to drill down into the MICE sector and give it a very key focus to ensure that it helps us to deliver what we want to achieve.
Absolutely, and create those jobs. So MICE is not just nice to have, it is essential.
It's a critical one. It's the lifeblood for every single economy across the continent in Africa.